Hello, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcoming you to the opening of Joyosity. I am so glad you're here. Like you heard in the intro, I'm Jen Whitmer, and we are launching something big and new. And so I really would love if you are here to say hello in the comments. Hello, Shelby, and others who are here. I see you lurking back there. I am so glad that you are here today. So for some of you, you might be like, but wait, aren't you live all the time on Monday? Hi, Lorna. Yes, I am live on Mondays every week at 1 p.m. Eastern, but this is something new. If you have been around for a little bit, you know that I'm live at 1, but if you're new or if you're just listening to the podcast, I wanted to give you an overview of why we are now Joyosity and what navigating leadership with Joyosity really means. So I was doing a coaching call last week, and it was this phenomenal experience of just really simple work. And my client at the end of the call said, this is the call I didn't know I needed. And that type of coaching is not available to everybody all the time. And so that's what I would love this podcast to be for you to walk away on Mondays and be like, that's the podcast I didn't know I needed today. That was the live I didn't know I needed today. Because what we are doing is creating a space where we can create positive culture with complex people. Okay, again, you heard that in the intro, but what does that really mean? So here's what I want to say first. So I'm going to start with complex people because I think isn't that the easiest? Okay, so if you're listening live or maybe you're catching the replay, I want you to let me know in the comments. Do you think people are complex or simple? Just like complex or simple? Because I think sometimes we're like, oh, it should just be simple. But the reality is, I'm pretty sure you understand that we're complex. So I was thinking about this, and last week, my husband travels a few days a week pretty regularly, and our oldest daughter who lives at home, it has been navigating auditions and senior year and all of these things. And it was pretty high stress for her. Even though it wasn't high stress for me, I was still helping her through those things, which impacted all the work that I do. And I was pretty well fed and slept. So I wasn't angry, I wasn't tired, and it still took a lot of energy out of me. And so I just want you to think about that. Yeah, Lorna, people are complex. I just want you to think about that for a moment. Whatever is happening in your world, whether it be at home, out in our broader community, or in your very workplace, things change. We're dynamic people. It moves back and forth throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the season, especially those of you who are in any kind of seasonal work. If you've got the Q3 that's coming up at the end or the end of the fiscal year, I've got a couple clients who are like, ooh, can you get that to me by the end of the fiscal? Like those kinds of things heighten and change the dynamic of your workplace. So, and then that's just circumstance. That's not different personalities. That's not different values. That's not different cultural experiences or workplace experiences, education, training. All of that adds to the complexity. Don't you think? Don't you think people are complex? So I figured we could all get on board with complexity. But the thing about positive culture, that's the thing I get resistance on sometimes. They're like, do we really need to have a positive culture? Why can't people just get their work done? That idea of we're just lucky to have a job. You should just get your work done. So I'm curious, have you ever heard that before? Or maybe you've not heard it directly with someone's out loud voice, but you have said that to yourself along the way because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. You feel like, oh, I'm supposed to just be happy that I have a job and be happy that I have work to do. And the truth is, yes, we should be grateful that we have work. Of course, we should be grateful that we have work. If you're looking for a job right now, connect in the comments because lots of people in there are really helpful. But, you would be like, oh, I'd be so grateful to have work. But one of the things that I think we forget is that we put the work above the people. And so, what positive culture does is that it flips that script a little bit because research project after research project after research project shows us that when people are struggling, productivity goes down. Also, when people are struggling, not only does productivity go down, they end up leaving. They end up leaving. And so I'm sure, yeah, some of you are like, I've definitely said this idea in my own head. I should just be able to do this. I don't need people coddling me, things like that. Yeah, you've definitely said that to yourself. But the research shows us something different. And so currently, the US Surgeon General did expansive reporting recently about the struggles people are having at work. 81% of workers reported that they will move for better mental wellness, for a workplace that has better mental wellness. So if you're concerned about employee retention, mental wellness is a huge component of that, and culture matters. And then Harvard has an institute called the Project for Human Flourishing, and they have a section for human flourishing at work. And all of these research studies come back to say that the business case for a positive culture is an imperative. It changes how people work in a way that is not only treating humans as humans, but it actually helps us get our work done. It helps us get our work done. And so that is why I am concentrating on positive culture with the complex people. So I'm curious, if I say to you, we should have a positive culture, how strongly do you feel like that's important? 5 is like, absolutely, we should totally have a positive culture. And 1 being, we have no need for a complex culture. We should just get it done. I'm really curious as you're listening. If you're listening on the podcast, answer for yourself and let us know. Like, shoot us an email or connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Let me know. Do you think positive culture is an absolute necessity, or do you think it's just something extra that we have? Because my real goal is that we all come together, not only on this live stream and on this podcast, but the work that I do with clients, the work that I do in organizations as a speaker and a trainer. I want to help us navigate that positive culture, not in spite of all those complex people, but because of them. Because people are the heart of your work. Unless you are working with robots all day long, which I bet most of you are not, you are going to be working with people. And that means you've got to navigate things with these complex people. So the whole idea behind Joyosity is that we have the power within us as leaders, as organizations, to create positive culture as a business imperative, not as an extra. And so I'm curious. Oh, I love that you guys are saying 5. Yes, that is so important. It's a necessity. Joy at work is a necessity. And mental wellness and positive culture help create that mental wellness that the Surgeon General and the Human Flourishing Project and tons of other research studies are talking about. And we're going to work toward that. So to me, Joyosity is creating that positive culture with the complex people, because of the complex people, because we care about who people are. And in a way that we walk away with that people are whole. Like, you recognize you're a whole person. I was telling you my story about my daughter. You've got kids, you've got family, you've got community members, you've got neighbors. That impacts your work. You are a whole person who doesn't, watch Netflix while you're literally on a client call. Like, you can't do those 2 things at once. You don't leave yourself at home. You bring your whole self with you. And in a way, we want to make that possible, to bring your whole self with you. And I want work to be a joy. Work should be fun, not every minute of every day. Because believe me, there's construction happening right outside my window over here. And what you cannot see is a group of insane blankets. If you catch it on Instagram in a little bit, you'll see this crazy setup. Setting up for that, I'm going to say it was not a joy. But to get on here and help you navigate to get to a positive culture, to create that space where people feel whole and work is a joy, that is a joy. And at the end of that, when we think work is a joy and we work toward that, when people are whole and they can bring their whole selves, that flourishing is a part of how we create workspaces, organizations actually flourish too. Productivity is higher, retention is greater. You have engaged and even inspired employees. So just one quick like statistic. If you have a satisfied employee, let's call the satisfied employee the zero line. If you have a disengaged employee, it goes down, their productivity goes down about 40% from satisfied to dissatisfied or disengaged. Above that, you've got engaged. So you've got an engaged employee, it pops up to like 60%. But even above engaged is inspired. And that means the difference between here, this disengaged employee, to an inspired employee is almost 150%, which means if you have an inspired employee who is living and existing in a positive culture, even with all the complexities of them, it's like you have a person and a half. It's like you have an additional person and a half. The business case for this is incredibly strong. I know that I need to make the business case, but I just want to remember we're people. You feel that, right? You feel the difference when you feel like you belong, when it's safe, when you can present ideas, when hard conversations have to happen. I know we don't love them, but everybody feels like they can communicate clearly. Isn't that the space you want to work, where people are welcoming, appreciative of your job? Isn't that what you want to? Yeah, I'm seeing you in the comments. An inspired team, an inspired place. That's what we want. We feel that. So there is a definite business case, and we have to go with those metrics sometimes. But we also know that that's how it should be. That's what we long for. A place where work is a joy and people are whole and your organization flourishes. So if you are with me in this, I would love to invite you to join me every week on the live show on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook at 1 p.m., just like we are here right now. I'm going to have some amazing experts coming on the show. We've got Harris III, who is an amazing entertainer, corporate speaker, and business coach. Jacob Knutson, who is the CEO of Butter. Dimple Dabalia, who is a former Homeland Security general advisor on immigration, and she's also an author. There are so many people that some of them are still in work, so I can't totally tell you yet, but I'm so excited to bring these leaders to you because all of them are working to help you improve your leadership by sharing their stories inside their experience. So if you've got somebody you'd love to have me on, you're like, oh, I think this person is so cool. Or if you've got a connection to Sarah Blakely, I would totally take it. Let's bring some great people on to help you create that space, first individually for yourself, and then for your team and your organization. So that's what we're doing here live. If you're catching the podcast is new. So if you've been around for a little bit and you're like, wait, isn't this what we do? Yes, but now it is a podcast as well. So on Thursday, September 21st, the podcast is coming. So you can catch this every Thursday. We'll drop it on Thursdays and you'll be able to hear some past interviews, some really great people we've had before, and the new shows that are coming. So that's going to be happening next Thursday, the 21st. And I'd love for you to listen both places. I know that I have a few of these that I listen to both times because I learn better and differently. But most of all, what I want you to do is join the community. I just want you to be here in the comments. Connect with me here on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on Instagram. I can send you free resources. You can join my Jolt of Joyosity Monday letter, where you get far more resources from me and other great goodies to help you grow first yourself. As a person who has to lead yourself first, I'm always like, you got to lead yourself first because you can't lead anybody else until you do. And also resources to help your team. I would love for you to connect with me. I'm so glad you all are excited. We will be back next week, and it's going to be just a fantastic episode. I am going to share with you actually how we do this. We're talking about navigating leadership with Joyosity. But what is that? So how do we do it? There are 3 E's to navigating with Joyosity. It is exploration, it is engagement, and experience. And we're going to talk about what those 3 mean and how that is a compass to navigating your leadership. Can't wait for you to join me next week. And thank you all for being here. Tell your friends, share this episode if you want to help create that positive culture. Maybe not just in your workplace, but maybe, just maybe, we can transform global workplace culture where work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. That's what we want. I hope to see you next week live at 1 p.m. So let me put my coach hat on for just a sec. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them. Connect with us to keep this conversation going. As always, I'm Jen Whitmer. Thank you for listening to Joyosity. I don't take for granted that your earballs have a lot of information coming at you. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It really helps more people join us in creating positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.